Today I'm going to cover the rest of my discussion with my good old buddy AG in the comment section of one of my videos. But this will not be the end of the series, because I have at least 2 more videos planned. One about a short exchange between the two of us after we left the comment section, and one more video which will be some kind of conclusion in which I'm going to summarize all the aspects I recognized during the discussion and kind of try to present the essence of this whole conversation. Last time AG gave me a lot of stuff to debunk, so let's start right away.
Apparently you are not listening if you still insist that me proving that people are born gay is the core of the argument. As I said twice by now, there is no solid proof for neither mine or your claim.
Wow, you can tell I have been fed up just by reading this line. Good news, he won't bring it up again after this.
So it comes to reasoning. My reasons are: how can sexual preference, in other words, what one experiences as attractive, be a matter of choice, or, if you insist, exterior influences?
I have the feeling I have asked a question down this line multiple times during the discussion, but I am, according to him, the one who is avoiding issues and dancing around words.
I agree that certain mindsets can change, like ideals of beauty. In the past, well-nourished women were sexy. Today it's half-famished skeletons. But this change took ages, and they only happened because we got suggested every single day that this is sexy. But the phenomenon does not explain how the whole gender one is attracted to changes. Have gay people been suggested day by day that their own gender is more sexy? But heterosexual couples would not do this, so where did the gayness come from in the first place? Your claim that it is society-induced has no logical explanation.
Ooh, you just got burned.
But okay, you're willing to explore the possibilities that homosexuality is something you are born with. Not so good, you put it on the same level of a serious mental disease that causes harm to the individual and others.
This is actually my core point. How do you define a disease? A disease is something harmful. Homosexuality in itself does no harm to anybody, except of course the following.
The only harm homosexuality does is the stress gay people have to go through thanks to people like you calling their condition a disease.
You basically cause the harm by calling it a disease, and therefore you are the source of the harm. So I would kind of say you are the disease.
Not every abnormality is bad and has to be treated.
And you should be really thankful for this, because your ignorance and hatefulness is not normal as well. Now that I think about it, treating you would actually really improve your life, the life of every gay person you come across, and everybody else you offend with your ignorance.
Let's use your idea of a line that has to be drawn. What deviation has to be treated and which is okay? Left-handedness? Freckles? Skin color?
I should have learned from earlier occasions within this very discussion that bringing up colorful examples does not work with him. As I'm going to continue, I will bring forward an actual solid argument, but he will completely ignore it and just fixate on the freckles.
I can tell you where the line should be drawn, where people are harmed.
This is pretty much my whole point of view in a nutshell. Everything is fine as long as nobody gets harmed. And this line is absolute. This line will not move a few feet in a few years. You don't need bring up extreme things like pedophilia just to scare me off. No, there is the line. There it is right now. But will you acknowledge this statement? Will you actually refer to my version of a line that must not be crossed? No. Because if you would do this, you would lose all this ground you stand on. Because you still haven't provided a single argument that justified being so hateful against gay. It doesn't fucking matter if it is unnatural, society-induced or anything. It doesn't harm anybody.
You name depression, criminals and pedophiles. Stuff like this has to be stopped because they cause suffering.
And the fact that you hardcore dodge addressing this aspect in your reply shows that you actually know I'm right.
I can't see how gay people can cause any suffering at your end except that you choose to be offended. Talking about irrational cases of inhibition, what is your problem with polygamy and public nudity? These two aspects are as natural as it can get. You should be a great fan of those. No other species I know of feels the need to cover up their body, and only rather few species practice lifelong monogamous bonds.
And the debunking streak continues. He will not be able to say anything to any of those arguments I just brought up. His whole argument has never been about nature. He just thought that this would work.
Finally, as far as I know, there are studies proving that there are gay animals. But since I don't have any at hand, I roll with your claim that there are not. Isn't the human mind far more complex and evolved than the mind of any other species known? Humans developed a lot of unique abilities and flaws throughout evolution, even if homosexuality would be a humans only thing. So are countless others.
Well, I guess this statement should quiet down the people who already started arguing in the comment section of the previous parts about how natural or unnatural homosexuality is. Humans themselves developed in an unnatural way. I admit I never read a single article about the homosexual behavior of animals, because I fucking don't care. Actually, except of a bunch of zoologists, nobody cares about the sexuality of animals. They are just used in this argument for both sides to make their point about the naturality of it. But it doesn't matter. We are talking about humans. Humans are an absolute unique animal. If we find differences, if we find similarities, both great, both interesting, but both have no relevance for this discussion.
You make it impossible to argue any point.
Well, from your point of view, you are probably right about this. For you, it is impossible to argue with me because I use reason and actual arguments and not empty phrases and superficial bullshit.
Because you are comparing apples to aardvarks. It's not even in the same category. Left-handedness, freckles, what does this have to do with anything?
As I told you, he completely ignores the actual solid argument I bring after those rather out there examples, which were, by the way, other examples of deviations. This is what they have to do with everything.
I am comparing one sexual deviation to another, comparing one mental abnormality to another.
Interesting. Earlier you also compared them to criminals. Let me quote a guy I had an interesting discussion with once. You can't change your facts mid-argument. That's not how it works.
And once again you find some barely related comparison.
Barely related comparison? Well, on a certain level, yes, you're right. They are not directly related. And you know why? Because I try to get the discussion on a bigger picture and try to show you how nonsensical the comparisons you are doing are.
I have already made my point, and I'd rather not spend the next week listening to you dance around my words.
Okay, you bring an argument, I debunk it. You claim it is impossible to talk to me and I stop making sense. Well, I guess I actually would call this dancing around words. But on your end.
To justify your extreme liberal idealism.
I actually love this statement because I never thought of myself as a liberal because in Germany there is a liberal party, but they don't really represent a liberal mindset. So I hesitated from calling myself a liberal in the past, but after he said this and I reflected on it, I was like, yes, I may not agree with the Liberal Party of Germany, but yes, I am liberal. Even so, I think it's funny that he calls me extreme and idealist, but I'm getting to this.
The end.
You wish.
Allow me to enlighten you about the connection between freckles and homosexuality. Both are deviations within the human race. You condemned one and I returned your own question where to draw the line, to you.
This must really suck when you have this really awesome and strong argument you probably heard somewhere and thought by quoting it and combining it with very extreme examples like pedophilia. You are unbeatable, and then suddenly you are confronted with your own question?
I am not surprised that you were not able to reply to this and just gave up, as you called all my earlier points that did not work in your fixed mindset bizarre or flimsy logic. The only point you managed to make is that you are grossed out by homosexuality and try to justify it by calling on nature and a lot of other arguments I was able to debunk or at least show to be unproven.
Well, going over this whole 1-year-old argument, I still agree to this statement.
My mindset is probably liberal, but believe me, I am not an idealist. I am actually a hardcore cynic.
What can I say? I think all humans are idiots, me included.
But in contrast to you, I am not stubbornly grabbing on to my make-believe world in which some evil like homosexuality can be not part of nature, but is created by cruel men to make you feel uncomfortable. You are right, I haven't made my point because you steered away from it from the very beginning. I just wanted you to not insult people who don't see the world through your eyes.
Oh look, he actually did remember what the core of his argument was. Bravo, bravo! You actually went back to the beginning of the conversation and checked what you actually said to start this whole discussion.
I'm just sick and tired of people insulting those of us who don't agree with gays.
Dude, I'm not insulting you because you disagree with gay. I'm insulting you because you are an ignorant asshole about it. If you recall, as I stated earlier, I myself am kind of grossed out by the idea of actually getting intimate with another man. So, on a personal level, I do not agree with gay either. But I don't see a reason to be offended by it, and especially no reason to be a dick towards people who happen to be gay. It is not your business.
Like we aren't entitled to an opinion.
Of course you are entitled to have an opinion. But if your opinion is offensive and lacks a solid ground to stand on, you have to deal with getting put through the grinder.
I shouldn't have to spend 3 fucking days getting pissed off and tired to explain my opinion when you shouldn't have been a dick in the first place.
Well, I probably was a dick, and I am being one right now, showing your stupidity off to the world. But don't get pissed at me because your explaining your opinion failed so horribly. If you back up your opinion by reasoning, you don't have this kind of trouble.
Don't take my leaving as a sign that you have won.
Oh, of course not. I mean, leaving the conversation by blocking the other user is completely the move everybody who is absolutely confident in their own position and has a feeling he made a good impression would do.
Because the only thing you have succeeded in doing is being so goddamn persistent that I'm too mentally exhausted to keep this up.
Well, thank you. I mean, being goddamn persistent sounds actually like a compliment in my ears. Am I blushing?
You are possibly the most smug, infuriating individual I have ever had the displeasure of dealing with, and I would like nothing more than to forget you exist as soon as possible.
Oh, you just started being nice and now you throw in insults instead of addressing any of my arguments I just presented to you.
At this point, you are just trying to get the last word just to spit me.
Well, you caught me on this one. I love having the last word. But at least I don't leave a post and then block the other user so he can never reply, so I have the last word. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he blocked me right away after leaving this comment, so sadly he never got my last reply. But I'm going to present it to you guys anyways.
Your actual point was it's not okay to insult people with different views on the world? By insulting every single gay person by calling them liars about their nature? Great job! By the way, my point of view is not limited to gay. It's about tolerance in general. And I do tolerate different opinions, but you presented yours as fact, and that I wanted to disprove. I am the most smug, infuriating individual? Dude, you're lucky you did not respond to Biter, the other guy that replied to you.
No offense, Biter, love you, bro. With this ended the epic discussion in the comment section of my video, but as I already stated in the beginning of this video, it's not over yet. Because I have about 8 YouTube accounts with all those pseudo accounts you get with Google Plus and whatnot. So to shut me up, blocking one account will not do. See you next time when I send him a private message with another account.